GeePawHill in the house and on your screen. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas. Okay, I know, it's really Merry into January. Yeah, I know, I'm not senile, but I wanted to stick with the Christmas theme because it turns out we got a fantastic gift. Let's take a look. Right over here, opening up the hierarchy, moving around and opening my test folder, and look right there. These tests have all been written against each separate annotation type and its processing in the entire system. Can you dig it? That's everything we have thoroughly tested. Now, where did we get these? Well, I just want to put out a huge thank you to Jeff Grigg. Jeff worked on these as he was working his way through the problem and then sent them to us, which is just magnificent. Thank you so much, Jeff Grigg. Okay, now, one of the reasons I didn't do a lot of testing or running of tests is that I've been pretty conservative so far. The refactorings that we have done have been mostly almost entirely safe, things that are either running with the automated techniques or minor things like renames or killing of comments or things like that. So I've been reasonably happy working without those tests, but now I have a moment of truth. The question is, since the original tests were written against the original code, now almost what, 2.5 hours later, did we get into any trouble or didn't we? Here we go. Go baby, go baby, go. Yes! 96 microtests running, 96 microtests passing. So even though I worked testlessly for a while against this code, we did not get in any trouble. Okay, let's get back to work, shall we? I'm looking here at process single annotation, and I want to show you something that's kind of interesting to me. You know, if you don't know this already, when you select any symbol in Eclipse, all the usages of that symbol that are in the same file show up over here. Now, in a default installation, it's not green here and it's not green over here. It's a kind of very light gray. But even though I'm not senile yet, I am elderly and I can't see that gray. So I went ahead and changed the color to green in a project I was working on that has nothing to do with the DoubleDawgDare, and the settings still happen to be here. So I opened up this file to see if I could squeeze in a little bit more work. And I did something kind of interesting. I accidentally just clicked here. Let's say email validator is a good example. And I noticed, oddly enough, I have this current usage. I have this usage, which is, of course, the function that we call out of our switch statement. And then I have this usage. What is this? Well, it turns out this is a very long function called process validation annotation singular. And what it does is, for each possible type of validator, it declares a variable, takes the validation, and asks it for the matching function, which is supposed to return null or an array of email validators. Then for each item, it goes through this. Now, does this look at all familiar to you? It should, because it's almost identical to the code that's being run over here. So when I say almost identical, what do I really mean? Well, there's two differences. The first difference is that this method starts with a cast that isn't shared by the system's code down here. We don't have to cast on this line because it's already been pre-rigged for us by definition to be an email validator. Okay, so that's one difference. The other difference is down at the bottom. If temp is not equal to null, result.add subtemp. Well, this is our same old friend that we've been killing off the whole time. So it does nothing wrong to just kill it off again. All right. So now what am I looking at? I've got the email validator. What happens if I select this code and say, you know what? Extract method. Ooh, look down here. Replace one occurrence of statements with the method. Now, when he says one here, it's a little misleading. What he really means is replace one other occurrence of the statements with the method. So in other words, the computer now recognizes that these are duplicate or almost duplicate. Why do I say almost? Well, let's go back to the function up here. This guy opens with that cast, but the other guy doesn't. Question for you. Does this casting cause any problems down here? In other words, if I went ahead and cast it anyway, would everything be okay? The answer is sure. The fact that you're bringing in an instance of a single email validator won't make any difference to our processing function. I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to go manual. I'm just going to go in here and say, you know what? This is really just a call to process email validator field name method name result. And instead of using that, of course, we have to use the V. All right, we use the V, semicolon. This has done exactly what this body of code did, except that it makes a cast. This guy does not need to be an email validator. He's allowed to be just any annotation. All right, does that make sense to you? Okay, I'm gonna quick like a bunny, jump out and go fix all of these cases. Be right back. And there we go. Our process validation annotation singular function now has the bodies of all of these subloops replaced with an express call directly to the other process validator. Now we're going to stop here in terms of changes today. And the reason is because I want you to get a full and rich understanding of the problem that we're going to confront next time around. It looks like this. Here's a process conversion error for a field validator. And let's look at just these lines of code. Okay, there's a map string. It gets created or initialized. If the field name's not equal to null, params put a field name, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now these 8, I guess, lines of code are interesting because they appear up here too. Declare the map. If the field name's not equal to null, use it. Otherwise, use the v.dot field name. So that makes me want to do something like select this code and say extract a method from it. And we'll unify those two chunks of code. It's kind of weird though, because look, it is not possible for me to replace all the occurrences of the statements with the method. That means it doesn't find any of those. Well, now wait a minute, didn't we just see it right down here, the identical code? We did. The difference is the runtime situation is different. And that difference lies right up here with the cast. In a date range field validator, you cast it to that, and then you begin using it to read information out of it. Everything, basically, that says V, every one of these is a reference to that guy. Down here, you have the same thing, right? The problem is this V and this V are different classes, and they have a sibling relationship. That is, they are both derived from the same superclass, annotation, but they don't have anything else in common. So the real problem is that the hierarchy we wish we had isn't there, okay? Let me explain. Date range field validator V has a bunch of methods called field name, min, and so on, okay? Similarly, down here with conversion error field validator, we also have an item V, and he has field name, and actually looks like that's all he has is field name. We wish we had a middle level because then we could say v.fieldName and be referring to the same parent class. Right now we can't do that, and that presents us with an annoying problem. In other words, code that looks almost identical is not identical at all. And that is the problem we're going to have to confront next week. So, once again, before we close, it's GeePawHill. I'm saying peace, I'm saying out, and I'm saying thank you so much, Jeff Grigg. Oh, and kids, drive safe.